At Thanksgiving dinner, my husband accidentally spilled a few drops of soup on my daughter-in-law's dress. She immediately flew into a rage. When I stepped in front of his wheelchair to protect him, she slapped me so hard that my glasses flew off and hit the floor. "You're trash. My husband deserves a better mother." Then she pointed at my husband. "Take that useless burden and get out of my house." My husband looked at me and said quietly, "Let's go." I didn't fight back. I simply wheeled my husband out the door. I am so grateful you are here with me today. Before we begin, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from your city, your state, your country? I want to know. Welcome to Silent Revenge with Auntie May. This story contains fictional elements crafted for reflection and meaningful storytelling. Any similarity to actual names or places is coincidental, but every lesson here is worth carrying. I have been waking up before sunrise for 30 years. Not because I have to, because the greenhouse does not wait, and because some habits grow so deep into your bones that sleeping past 5 in the morning starts to feel like a small betrayal. That Thanksgiving morning, I pulled on my work boots at 4:53, the same as always. The Georgia air outside was cold enough to make my breath visible little white puffs dissolving into the dark as I walked the stone path from our back door to the greenhouse. The smell hit me the moment I pulled the door open. Warm soil, rosemary, the faint sweetness of the thyme I had been nursing through an early cold snap. That smell has been the first thing I reach for every morning since Lowell and I built this place with our own hands. 32 acres, 3 greenhouses. A name people in Cherokee County actually know. I was checking the moisture levels on the winter herb trays when I looked up through the glass and saw the kitchen light flick on inside the house. Lowell was awake. I watched him through the window for a moment, my husband of 47 years maneuvering his wheelchair to the counter with the particular, careful stubbornness that had replaced his old, easy stride. His right hand trembled as he reached for the coffee tin. He knocked it slightly, caught it with his left hand, and kept going. He always kept going. That was the thing about Lowell, that 6 years of medical appointments and physical therapy and the kind of grief that does not announce itself had never managed to touch the man, simply kept going. A car accident on a wet November road had taken most of the mobility from his right side and left him with a brain injury that the doctors called significant and Lowell called inconvenient. When I came back inside, he was already pouring, his face arranged in the expression he wore when he was concentrating hard and pretending he was not. "You didn't have to make the whole pot," I said, pulling off my garden gloves. "I made it for me," he said. "You just happened to be here." He handed me a mug. His hand shook just enough that a few drops landed on the counter, and he frowned at them with the kind of irritation a man reserves for things his body does without his permission. "Lowell, don't." I wasn't going to say anything. "You had that look." I was going to say, "Thank you," I told him. He squinted at me like he wasn't sure he believed that, then smiled, that slow, crooked smile I had been looking at since 1977. "Then thank you is accepted," he said. That was our morning. 47 years had turned us into a language of two shorthand, built from so many ordinary moments that we barely needed full sentences anymore. By 9 o'clock, I had the turkey in the oven, the pecan pie cooling on the rack, and the good tablecloth smoothed over the long dining table. I had set places for 5. It was going to be a quiet Thanksgiving, just family. The Lass of Voss arrived first. She was Rowena's mother up from Savannah, and she came through the front door the way she always did, arms wide perfume, arriving 3 seconds before she did her smile, so broad and so practiced, it almost looked real. "Morwenna, everything smells absolutely divine," she said, pressing her cheek to mine without actually touching it. "You have outdone yourself." "It's the same meal I make every year," I said, "and every year it's divine." She set her overnight bag down and looked around the living room with the expression of someone conducting a quiet inventory. I had seen that look before. I had learned not to name it out loud. Rowena came downstairs 20 minutes later in a black silk dress and heels that had no business being worn in a house with hardwood floors. She was 37 years old and beautiful in the way that requires considerable effort. Hair, perfect nails, perfect, the kind of put together that takes an hour and a half and is meant to look effortless. "It smells good in here," she said, walking into the kitchen. She picked up her phone from the counter, framed the pie on the cooling rack, and took 4 photos before she looked at me. "Did you use fresh pecans?" "Same ones from the farm stand on Route 40, I said. "Same as last year." She nodded the way people nod when they are not really listening, then walked into the living room. A moment later, I heard her moving things, the small shuffle of objects being rearranged. "I'm setting up a little video for Instagram," she called out. "Just to capture the whole vibe. You don't mind, do you?" I minded. I did not say so. "Go ahead," I said. She propped her phone against the bookshelf on the far wall, the lens facing out toward the dining table and the living room. A wide angle. I noticed it covered most of the room. Then she stepped back and checked the frame, satisfied. Corbin came home from picking up extra folding chairs from the church fellowship hall just before noon. He kissed my cheek, shook his father's hand the way men do when they love each other and have never quite figured out how to say it plainly, and started moving chairs around the table. "You need anything, Mom?" "I need everyone to stay out of my kitchen for 45 minutes, I said. He grinned. "Done." By the time we sat down to eat, the afternoon had gone gray and quiet, outside the kind of November sky that presses down low and makes the lights inside feel warmer than usual. 5 plates, steam rising from the dishes, Thalassa complimenting everything in that voice of hers that always sounded like she was testifying at a revival. I watched Thalassa lean close to Rowena and murmur something I could not catch. Rowena gave a small nod, the kind of nod that is really a confirmation. My chest tightened in a way I could not name then. Only later would I understand what I had been sensing all along, that the warmth in that room was only sitting on the surface, and underneath it, something had already been decided. The dinner had been going for maybe 15 minutes when it happened, not long enough for anyone to relax, not long enough for the wine to do what wine is supposed to do at a family table, just long enough for the food to get warm and the conversation to run thin, and the silence underneath everything to start pressing upward like water, finding a crack. Lowell was working on his soup. That was what I noticed first, the concentration on his face, the way he held the silver spoon with both hands, to steady it the way his right hand betrayed him anyway. The tremor was worse some evenings than others. The neurologist called it residual A leftover from the brain injury, a reminder that never fully packed its bags and left. Tonight it was worse. The spoon slipped. It was nothing. A few drops of cream soup, a small arc through the air, a faint scatter across the edge of Rowena's black silk skirt. Not even enough to soak through. The kind of thing that happens at every dinner table in America. At least once you laugh, you hand someone a napkin, you move on. Rowena did not move on. She shoved her chair back so hard it scraped against the hardwood floor, and the sound cut through the Christmas music Thalassa had asked me to put on earlier. Every head at the table turned. "Are you serious right now?" Rowena's voice came out sharp and high, the kind of voice that had been waiting behind her teeth all evening. She grabbed her napkin and pressed it against the fabric of her skirt with the fury of someone who had decided this was the moment. "This is a $400 dress. Rowena." Corbin started. "Don't." She held up one hand toward her husband without looking at him, her eyes fixed on Lowell. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down. He does this every single time. Every single family dinner, something gets ruined." Lowell's face went the color of old chalk. His hands, both of them now pressed flat against the tablecloth. "I'm sorry, Rowena," he said, and his voice came out smaller than it should have. The voice of a man who had been apologizing for his own body for 6 years and was exhausted down to the marrow of his bones. "I didn't mean to." "You never mean to," she snapped. "That's the whole problem, isn't it?" My heart cracked straight down the middle. Not because she was yelling at my husband, because Lowell apologized, Because after everything, the accident, the surgery, the months of learning to button his own shirt again, the notebooks full of technical drawings he redid with his left hand so the greenhouse would keep running after all of that. My husband was sitting at my Thanksgiving table, apologizing for a few drops of soup. I put my napkin down. I stood up. I walked around the end of the table and I placed myself between Rowena and Lowell's wheelchair close enough that she would have to look at me instead of him. My legs felt steadier than I expected them to. My hands did not shake at all. "That's enough, Rowena," I said. She looked at me the way she had been looking at me for years, like I was furniture she had grown tired of rearranging. "Stay out of this." "This is my home," I said, "and that is my husband, so I'm already in it." Something shifted in her face then. The calculation I had seen in her eyes all evening sharpened into something uglier, and I understood in that moment that this had never been about the soup. This had never been about the dress. This was the thing that had been decided before anyone sat down. She raised her hand and she hit me across the face. The sound was flat and hard in the warm room. My glasses flew off and I heard them hit the floor and crack. The left side of my face bloomed with heat. I did not fall. I took one step sideways to catch my balance and I stood back up straight. "Mom." Corbin was on his feet, his chair knocked back behind him. His voice was something I had never heard from my son before, cracked open like something inside him had just broken along a seam that had been weakening for years. Rowena leaned into my face close enough that I could smell her perfume, close enough that I could see her mascara had not smudged because she was not upset. She was satisfied. "You are trash," she said, each word bitten off clean. "My husband deserves a real mother, not some dirt-covered old woman who plays in the mud and calls it a business." Then she turned and pointed not at me, but past me, one red fingernail aimed directly at Lowell's wheelchair. "Take that useless burden," she said, "and get out of my house." The room went completely still. Lucy from next door, the retired school teacher who brought us tomatoes every August, could have walked through the front door singing and nobody would have blinked. I heard Thalassa set her fork down very carefully on her plate. I heard Corbin breathing through his nose sharp and controlled the way he breathed when he was trying not to come apart. And then I heard Lowell. "Ren." His voice was soft and it was steady, and it cut through everything else the way his voice had always cut through everything else, quiet and certain, and completely sure of me. I turned to look at him. His eyes were on my face, on the mark she had left there, and his expression was the most heartbreaking thing I had ever seen, not because he was afraid, but because he was not surprised. "Let's go home, sweetheart." I picked up my purse from the hook by the door. I wrapped both hands around the handles of Lowell's wheelchair. I pushed him through the front door without another word, and the cold Georgia night came up to meet us like something that had been waiting patiently outside. Behind us, the door swung shut. In the car, I got Lowell situated, folded the wheelchair into the trunk, the way I had learned to do in those first terrible months after the hospital, and I got behind the wheel. My hands found the steering wheel. The engine turned over. Lowell looked straight ahead through the windshield at the long, dark driveway. She said, "My house." "Ren," he said quietly. My jaw tightened until I felt it in my back teeth. "I know Lowell," I said. "I know exactly what she said. Dorothy has lived on Sycamore Mill Road for 22 years, and in all that time I have shown up at her door exactly 3 times without calling first. The night of our father's stroke, the afternoon we buried our mother, and that Thanksgiving night with Lowell in the passenger seat and the mark of my daughter-in-law's hand still burning across my left cheek. She opened the door before I had finished knocking. Dorothy is 4 years younger than me and has my same wide hands and our mother's habit of reading faces before she reads words. She took one look at me, standing under her porch light, and her expression did something complicated and painful. "Come inside," she said. Not a question, not even a full sentence. Just those 2 words, and she stepped back and made room. She got Lowell settled in the recliner in her living room, the wide one she'd bought after her hip surgery, sturdy enough to hold a man who needed a solid armrest to push himself up from. She brought him a blanket without being asked and set a glass of water on the side table within his reach. That was Dorothy. She had never needed to be told what a room required. "I'm going to make tea," she said to me. "You're going to sit down." "I don't need tea. More wenna." She gave me the look she had been giving me since we were girls, the one that said she was not asking. "Sit down." I sat. The kitchen light was warm and yellow, the kind of light that makes everything look a little gentler than it is. I caught my reflection in the dark window above the sink. My hair had come loose on one side. My cheek was still red, and I was wearing my good blouse with a smear of the driveway's red clay dust on the cuff from when I had loaded Lowell's chair into the trunk. I looked exactly like what I was, a 67-year-old woman who had just been hit in her own dining room on Thanksgiving. Dorothy set the mug in front of me and sat down across the table. She reached over and touched my cheek with 2 fingers, gentle examining, and her jaw tightened. "Tell me," she said. So I told her. All of it, from the spoon to the last word Lowell had said in the car. Dorothy listened the way she always listened, without interrupting, without making sounds of outrage, designed to make me feel heard. She just took it in her hands, wrapped around her own mug, her eyes on my face. When I finished, she exhaled slowly through her nose. "Where's Corbin?" she asked. "Still at the house, I imagine." "Has he called you?" "Not yet." Dorothy looked down at her tea. "He will," she said. She was right. My phone rang 40 minutes later, long enough for Lowell to fall asleep in the recliner, with the blanket pulled up to his chest and one hand resting open on his knee. I answered on the second ring and walked into Dorothy's narrow hallway for some quiet. "Mom." Corbin's voice came through tight and careful, the voice of a man holding something fragile. "Are you okay?" "I'm at Dorothy's. We're both fine." "Your cheek, Corbin." I kept my voice level. "Tell me what's happening there." He exhaled. I heard him moving, the sound of footsteps on hardwood, a door closing. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped. "After you left," and he said, "Rowena told Thalassa the house was finally theirs." Those were her exact words. "Thalassa told her to change the locks in the morning." My fingers tightened around the phone, but I did not say anything. I let him keep going. "Rowena went into your office," Corbin said. "She was looking for the homeowner's insurance paperwork. She said she wanted to check something about the policy." He stopped. I heard him take a breath, the way people do, before they say something they have been carrying. "Mom, she found the deed. I knew what was coming. I had known it would come eventually, not like this. Not on Thanksgiving night with soup still on the stove, but I had always known the deed would be the thing that changed the shape of everything." "The property deed," Corbin said. "The insurance, the tax statement, all of it in your name. She called me while I was still in the driveway, and she was Mom. She was screaming. She kept saying it had to be a mistake." "It's not a mistake," I said. "I know that. I told her that." His voice cracked slightly at the edges. "I told her you've always owned the house, that the attorney advised us years ago to keep the title in your name for asset protection, that I knew about it and I should have explained it to her clearly a long time ago." He paused. She didn't take that well. I leaned my shoulder against Dorothy's hallway wall and looked at the framed photographs she kept there, our parents on their wedding day. Corbin, at maybe 8 years old, holding a catfish he'd caught at the lake, a picture of Lowell and me at the nursery ground, breaking both of us laughing at something just outside the frame. "Corbin," I said, "are you all right?" The question surprised him. I heard it in the way he went quiet for a beat too long. "I'm trying to figure that out," he said finally. "That's an honest answer." "Mom, she hit you." His voice broke open on the last word, raw and ragged, like something that had been sealed too long, finally giving way. "She hit you in our house, and I sat there and I didn't—" He stopped, swallowed hard enough that I could hear it. "I didn't move fast enough." My throat tightened until it ached. "You stood up," I said. "Not soon enough." "Corbin." I closed my eyes for a moment. "There's more to say about that, but not tonight. Tonight I need you to tell me, are you safe where you are?" "Yeah." A long exhale. Mom, there's more I need to tell you. Not over the phone. Can I come to Dorothy's? I looked down the hallway toward the living room where Lowell's blanket rose and fell with his breathing slow and even his open hand resting on his knee like he was waiting for someone to take it. Come, I said, I'll put the kettle back on. Corbin's truck pulled into Dorothy's driveway at 10:32. I know the exact time because I had been watching the clock above the kitchen sink the way you watch a clock when you are trying not to think about everything your mind keeps returning to anyway. He came through the front door with his jacket still on and his boots leaving faint traces of red Georgia clay across Dorothy's entry mat. He looked at me sitting at the kitchen table, and something moved across his face. Relief and guilt tangled together in a way I recognized because I had seen that same expression in the mirror during the months after Lowell's accident when I was grateful he was alive and devastated by what alive now meant. Mom. He crossed the room and hugged me, and I felt how tightly he held on, the kind of grip that has nothing to do with greeting and everything to do with a man who needs a moment to collect himself before he can speak. Sit down, Corbin, I said. Dorothy left tea on the stove. He poured himself a mug and sat across from me. For a moment, he just turned the mug in his hands, staring into it like it owed him something. After you left, he said, Rowena was different. Different how... He looked up. Happy. The word landed hard between us. She was actually happy, Mom. She poured herself more champagne and told Thalassa that things were finally going to be the way they were supposed to be. His jaw tightened. I walked in through the garage door and she was laughing. My chest ached with something I could not name. Precisely not anger, not quite sorrow. Something older and more tired than either. Then what? I said. Then I saw your glasses on the floor. His voice dropped. I picked them up and set them on the table. Rowena kept talking. She didn't even register that I'd done it. He shook his head slowly. So I sat down and I told her the truth. About the business. About what it actually takes for my company to run the way it runs. I straightened slightly. What did you tell her? Everything I should have told her 3 years ago. He set down his mug. I told her about the agreement with your nursery, the written contract, the one Sandra helped us draft, where you supply me cuttings and rootstock at cost, where I lease the storage barn and the equipment trailer at a documented rate. All of it on paper, all of it legitimate. He met my eyes. I told her my first 12 landscaping contracts came through your client network, that without Callaway Nursery behind me, I'd have spent 2 more years building from zero. What did she say? Corbin let out a breath that was almost a laugh but carried no humor whatsoever. She said she thought you were living off what I provided. He rubbed one hand across his forehead. She genuinely believed she was doing you a kindness by letting you stay in the house. I looked out Dorothy's kitchen window at the dark yard beyond. The pecan tree at the edge of the property was just visible in the porch light, bare branches patient the way old trees always look patient, even in November. There's more, Corbin said. Tell me. The catering company called while I was talking to her. He leaned forward slightly. The upgrades Rowena added to tonight's order, the premium champagne, the dessert platter, the extra appetizer course she added 2 days ago. She put them on your commercial account. The restaurant honored it because your name is on the business profile. He paused. Your card covered what you originally ordered. Her additions came back as an outstanding balance. I pressed my lips together. How much? $340. And she tried to pay it. She pulled out her black card. Corbin looked at me steadily. The one you added her to 4 years ago when she and I were tight on cash, and you said it would help while we got the business stabilized. He exhaled. It was declined. I had to explain to her that you removed her access the moment you left the house tonight. I had thought about that card on the drive to Dorothy's. Not out of revenge, out of the same practical clarity that makes you check the gas gauge before a long trip. The account was mine. The access was mine to give and mine to take back. I had made that phone call from the driveway before I even started the engine. 1 minute and 20 seconds to reach the fraud department, remove an authorized user, and confirm the change was immediate. I had not felt righteous doing it. I had felt tired and clear-eyed and absolutely certain. She threw the card across the counter, Corbin said. It hit the backsplash and left a mark in the grout. He picked up his mug again, realized it had gone cool and set it back down. Then she went to grab the SUV keys to take Thalassa to the Hampton Inn on 41, and I stopped her. My hands folded on the table, tightened against each other. I told her the vehicle title is under Callaway Nursery, LLC, he said. That you put the SUV under the company name when you bought it because Lowell couldn't drive anymore and the nursery needed a vehicle that size for deliveries. That she has never had her name on that car, not once. He looked at me. She told me I was making things up to punish her. And you said, I said she was welcome to check the title in the glove box. He set both hands flat on the table. She didn't go check. She went into the living room and sat down next to Thalassa, and the two of them started talking in that low voice they use when they think nobody can hear them plotting. Across the hallway in Dorothy's living room, I could hear Lowell's breathing the slow, even rhythm of a man finally at rest. I thought about him designing the irrigation lines in our first greenhouse, lying on the concrete floor with graph paper and a pencil, figuring out angles and pressure values by hand because we couldn't afford to hire an engineer. I thought about everything that man had built with those hands before one afternoon on a wet road took most of the steadiness out of them. And I thought about Rowena sitting in my living room in my house on furniture I had chosen under a roof Lowell and I had paid for across 30 years, deciding she had been wronged. Corbin, I said quietly, how are you holding up? He looked at me across Dorothy's small kitchen table, and for just a moment, he looked exactly like the 8-year-old boy in the photograph in the hallway, the one holding the catfish, squinting into the sun, not yet knowing how complicated things were going to get. I keep thinking about Dad's glasses, he said, sitting there on the floor. I know, I said. There's still more, Mom. His voice had changed again, quieter, more careful the way people speak when they are approaching something they have been circling for a while. About the nursery, about what it actually is, and about Dad. I reached across the table and covered his hand with mine. Then tell me, I said. Before I share what Corbin told me next, a truth so quiet and so enormous, it took my breath away. Comment the word Wren below, and let me know you are still listening. What he said about Lowell is something I have never spoken out loud before. A gentle reminder some elements of this story are fictional, added with care to bring the message to life. If this style of storytelling is not for you, this is the right moment to find something that fits you better, and I mean that kindly. The pecan tree outside Dorothy's window had not moved. Same bare branches, same patient silhouette against the dark. But something in the kitchen had shifted the way air shifts before a storm commits to arriving, when the pressure drops and your ears know it before your mind does. I kept my hand over Corbin's on the table. Tell me, I said again. He turned his hand over and squeezed mine once the same way he had squeezed my hand at his father's bedside in the ICU 6 years ago, when the doctors were still using words like wait and see, and we won't know for several days. Then he let go and sat back. While Rowena was still processing the card situation, he said my phone rang. It was Dennis Paulhart, the regional buyer for Crestwood Garden Centers. I knew Dennis. I had known Dennis for 11 years. He called every November to confirm the spring contract. He was looking for you, Corbin said. He wanted to confirm the meeting next week about expanding the seasonal line, the wreaths, the potted herbs, the ornamental winter berries you've been piloting with the resort accounts. Corbin looked at me steadily. He called your cell first. When you didn't pick up, he tried mine. I had turned my phone to silent in the car on the way to Dorothy's. I had not checked it since. Rowena was standing right there when the call came in, Corbin said. She heard me confirm the meeting. She heard me say Callaway Nursery would have the full proposal ready. He exhaled through his nose, slow and deliberate. When I hung up, she asked me what Crestwood Garden Centers was. My heart squeezed. I told her, Corbin said. All of it. 32 acres, 3 greenhouses. The supplier contracts with the garden center chain and the 2 resort properties. The wholesale accounts, The seasonal product lines you've been developing for the past 4 years." He shook his head. "I told her Callaway Nursery generates over $1 million in annual revenue, that it has been operating for nearly 3 decades, that there are people in this county who have been buying from you longer than she and I have been married." "What did she say?" My voice came out quieter than I intended. "She asked why you never told her." Corbin's mouth pressed into a thin line. "I said you never hid it. She never asked." I thought about the times Rowena had walked through the greenhouse without looking at anything, the times she had described my work to her friends on the phone as my mother-in-law's little garden hobby, the times she had used the nursery's delivery van to pick up furniture she bought online because it was convenient, without once asking what the van was actually used for 6 days a week. She had looked at 30 years of work and seen a hobby because she had needed it to be a hobby, because if it was more than that, certain other things stopped adding up. "Corbin," my voice steadied, "tell me about your father." Something moved through his face, a ripple of something deep and difficult. He wrapped both hands around his cooled mug of tea and stared into it for a long moment, and I watched my son gathering himself the way I had watched him gather himself before hard conversations. His entire life, chin slightly down, jaw working, once eyes going still. "Before the accident, he started, then stopped. Started again. Mom, I told her about the systems Dad built." My breath caught. "The irrigation network," Corbin said. "The raised bed lift mechanisms, the potting line conveyor he designed to save your back when you were doing 200 flats a week by yourself." His voice roughened at the edges. "I told her he drew every single diagram by hand, that he calculated the water pressure tolerances for each greenhouse zone on graph paper at the kitchen table after dinner night after night until he got it right." He looked up at me. "I told her what it would cost to replace all of it today if we had to hire it out. The engineer fees, the installation, the calibration, over $600,000, Mom, at current market rates. Not the value of the land or the greenhouses, just the cost of rebuilding what Dad had designed from scratch, the engineering, the labor, the equipment if we ever had to start over without his plans." The number hung in the warm kitchen air. I had never said that number out loud. I had known it. I had done the math myself 2 years after the accident, on a night when I was sitting in the greenhouse at midnight, wondering if I could keep going alone. Knowing the number had been the thing that made me get up off the floor of Greenhouse 2 and go back inside and make myself a cup of coffee and decide to keep going, because Lowell had built something worth keeping. "She didn't say anything for a while," Corbin said. Then she said, He stopped. His jaw tightened so hard I could see the muscle jump beneath his ear. "She said so. What does that have to do with tonight?" My eyes burned, not with anger, with something that lived below anger, the particular grief of watching someone encounter evidence of a person's worth and feel nothing. Rowena had heard about the man who had spent years building the infrastructure of everything she had been enjoying, and her first response was to ask what it had to do with her evening. "Corbin." My voice broke on his name just slightly. I pressed my fingers against my mouth for a moment, collecting myself. "Your father designed those irrigation lines lying on a concrete floor. He was 41 years old and he did not own a knee pad. I know, Mom. He rewrote every technical manual after the accident, left-handed, in a hospital bed and then in a wheelchair, because he said the greenhouse needed to be able to run without him standing in it." "I know." Corbin's voice was rough and low. "I told her that too. And she asked what it had to do with tonight." "Yes." I breathed in slowly through my nose, out through my mouth. Dorothy's kitchen smelled like chamomile and old wood and the faint sweetness of the pecan pie she had baked last week. Normal things, solid things. From the living room, I heard Lowell shift in the recliner, the small sounds of a sleeping man resettling himself, a quiet exhale, the soft knock of his hand against the armrest. That man had called me sweetheart in a parking lot on a November night after his daughter-in-law had told him he was useless. He had held my hand in the car and made sure I was the one being checked on. I pressed my fingers hard against the table and blinked until my eyes cleared. "There's something else," Corbin said carefully. "Something that happened after I finished telling her about Dad." I looked at my son. "My phone rang again," he said. "It wasn't Dennis Paul Hart this time." "Who was it?" I asked. Corbin looked at me across the table with an expression I had not seen on my son's face since he was 12 years old and had broken the greenhouse cold frame with a baseball and had to come tell me about it. Not guilt, exactly. More like the particular discomfort of being the person who has to deliver information that changes the shape of a room. "Frank Ardell," he said. I sat back in my chair. Frank Ardell had been our neighbor for going on 23 years. He had coached Corbin's Little League team the summer Corbin was 9. He bought rosemary from the nursery every October without fail, always the largest pot on the display table. Always for his wife Janet, who grew it on their kitchen windowsill and replaced it every spring when she inevitably killed it and refused to admit that rosemary needed more sun than a north-facing window could provide. Frank was also, for the past 18 years, a deputy with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. "He called your cell first," Corbin said. "When you didn't pick up, he called mine." Why was Frank calling at all? Corbin pressed his palms flat against the table. Because Patricia Ardell saw the live stream. Patricia was Frank's cousin, a retired woman who had known our family peripherally for years, the kind of neighbor who remembered your name at the post office and followed your daughter-in-law on Instagram because small towns work that way. I needed a moment to understand what that meant. Then it came back to me, the phone propped on the bookshelf in my living room, Rowena setting it up before dinner, just to capture the whole vibe. The wide angle that covered the dining table and most of the room. "She follows Rowena on Instagram," Corbin said. "Patricia was watching the live stream when it happened. She saw everything, Mom. She recognized the room. She recognized your voice." He stopped. "She downloaded the clip before Rowena took the phone down. Then she called Frank directly because she knew he was our neighbor, and she didn't want to send a stranger to the house." My hands were very still in my lap. I thought about Rowena setting up that camera with the bright, cheerful efficiency of someone documenting a happy occasion. I thought about how pleased she had looked adjusting the angle. I thought about the fact that the thing she had built her entire public life around, the curated image, the perfect frame, the performance of a life well lived, had been running the whole time. Frank came to the house. Corbin continued. "He was off duty, but he came in an official capacity. He knocked on the door and I let him in." Corbin's voice went careful and measured the way it went when he was trying to get through something factual without letting the emotion of it derail him. "He had Patricia's clip on his phone. He watched it himself before he came over." "What did he say?" "He said, and I'm giving you his exact words, Mom. He said, 'Corbin, what I just watched constitutes simple battery under Georgia law. Your mother is the victim. She has the right to pursue this if she chooses.'" The words landed in Dorothy's kitchen with the particular weight of official language in an unofficial room. "He explained it to me," Corbin said. "Georgia Code, Section 16523.1, simple battery. It applies regardless of whether the people involved are family. It doesn't matter that it happened in a private home. It doesn't matter that Rowena claims she lost her temper." He looked at me steadily. The physical contact was intentional. There was visible injury. That's enough. I thought about my glasses hitting the hardwood floor, the crack they made, the way I had taken one step sideways and straightened back up without thinking about it because my body had decided on my behalf that I was not going to fall down in my own dining room. "Frank needs a statement from you," Corbin said. "He asked if you'd be willing to give one tomorrow morning, in person." "Tell him yes," I said. My voice surprised me with how steady it came out. Corbin nodded, reached for his phone and typed a message. A minute later, a reply came back and he read it to me. "Tell her I'm sorry this happened. I'll be there at 9. I pressed my lips together and looked at the ceiling for a moment because Frank Ardell had known me for 23 years and had just apologized on behalf of an evening that was not his fault, and something about that small decency made my throat hurt in a way that Rowena's hand across my face had not. "There's something else," Corbin said. Frank was explaining the situation to Rowena when Thalassa announced she needed to leave. I looked at my son. She said she had an early flight, Corbin said. She called a cab from the kitchen. Rowena asked her to stay, and Thalassa said. He stopped, exhaled. She said you made this bed, Rowena, and then she walked out. I thought about Thalassa arriving at my front door that afternoon with her wide smile and her expensive perfume and her overnight bag. I thought about the whisper I had caught in the kitchen. This is the last window you'll get. I thought about every dinner where Thalassa had cataloged my furniture with her eyes and said things like how cozy in a voice that meant the opposite. She didn't leave because she was ashamed, I said. Corbin looked at me. Thalassa believed you were the one with money, I said. She believed that if I was out of the picture, everything would flow toward Rowena, toward her. I folded my hands on the table. The moment she understood that was never true, there was nothing left for her here, so she left. Corbin's jaw worked. She sat at our Thanksgiving table and encouraged Rowena to, yes, I said. She did. And then she just walked out the door. That's what people do, I said quietly, when they were never really there for you to begin with. Corbin stared at the table. His right hand had curled into a loose fist beside his mug, and I watched him breathe through whatever was moving through him, not trying to stop it, just letting it run its course, the way a person has to sometimes. Rowena called you, he said after a moment. After Thalassa left, I heard her. She did. What did you tell her? I looked at my son, my 41-year-old son, who had driven across town on Thanksgiving night and was sitting in his aunt's kitchen, trying to hold the weight of an evening that had broken open in more directions than either of us had anticipated. I told her the house was still mine, I said, and that what happened between the two of you was between the two of you. Corbin looked up at me. His eyes were red at the rims. Mom, I need to tell you something, and I need you to actually hear it, not just listen to it. I reached across the table and covered his hand with mine. I'm hearing you, I said. There are things a mother knows about her child that have nothing to do with what he tells her. The way Corbin held his shoulders when he was about to say something true. The way his voice dropped half a register when the thing he was saying cost him something. I had been reading those signs for 41 years, and sitting across from him in Dorothy's kitchen at 11:30 on Thanksgiving night, every single one of them was present. I need you to know something first, he said, before I tell you what I've decided. All right. He pressed both hands flat on the table, a gesture I recognized from Lowell, the same way Lowell steadied himself against a surface when he needed to feel something solid under him. I have been watching things get worse for 2 years, Corbin said. The way she talked about you when you weren't in the room, the way she described the nursery to people, the way she used things that belonged to you and never once thought to ask. His voice was low and rough, scraped clean of anything but the truth. And I told myself it would get better. I told myself she just needed more time to settle in. I told myself you were strong enough to handle it. He looked at me directly. I was a coward, Mom. I used your strength as an excuse not to use mine. My chest ached with something I had not expected, not anger at him, not even relief that he was finally saying it. Just a deep and complicated tenderness for this man who had his father's hands and his father's stubborn silence, and who had just broken both of them open at my kitchen table at nearly midnight. Corbin, I'm not finished. He swallowed hard. Tonight she hit you. Tonight she pointed at Dad in his wheelchair and called him a burden, and I sat there for 3 seconds too long. His voice cracked, straight through the middle. 3 seconds, Mom. I counted them afterward. 3 seconds where I just sat there. You stood up, I said. Not fast enough. He shook his head. Not nearly fast enough. I reached across the table and put both my hands over his. His hands were trembling not the way Lowell's trembled, not from injury, but from the particular full-body effort of a man holding himself together by the thinnest thread. Listen to me, I said. You cannot carry 3 seconds for the rest of your life. I can try. Corbin. I tightened my grip on his hands. Look at me. He looked at me. His eyes were wet and red-rimmed and completely painfully honest. You drove here tonight, I said. You sat across from me and you told me the truth about every single thing that matters. That is not nothing. He breathed in hard through his nose, nodded once sharp and tight. What have you decided? I asked. He pulled his hands back and picked up his phone from the table, turned it over once, then held it still. I'm going to call Sandra Whitmore, he said. Sandra had been the Calloway family attorney for 15 years. She had handled the nursery incorporation, the property trust, the business agreements between Corbin and the LLC. She was 63 years old, kept an office on Main Street in Canton, and had a reputation in Cherokee County for being the kind of lawyer who answered her phone when it mattered. Corbin, it's nearly midnight. She told me once that the night calls are the ones that count. He met my eyes. Is that all right with you, Mom? I need to know you're with me on this. I thought about the property deed in my office filing cabinet. I thought about the written agreement between his landscaping company and my nursery, every page of it signed and witnessed and filed correctly, because Sandra had insisted on doing it right. I thought about 32 acres and 3 greenhouses, and a man who had drawn irrigation diagrams on graph paper while lying on a concrete floor. Call her, I said. He dialed. It rang twice. Sandra Whitmore picked up on the 3rd ring with the alert, unhurried voice of someone who had been expecting a call of exactly this kind, if not tonight, then eventually. Corbin. Her voice came through the phone clear enough that I could hear it from across the table. Talk to me. Corbin stood and walked into Dorothy's hallway, pulling the door mostly closed behind him. I could hear the low cadence of his voice, but not the words. I did not try to hear the words. That conversation was his to have. I sat with my tea, which had gone cold an hour ago, and I looked at my own hands on the table, the hands that had been in a greenhouse before sunrise that morning, that had pushed Lowell's wheelchair across a dark parking lot that evening, that had gripped the steering wheel on the drive here without shaking. They looked like what they were, the hands of a 67-year-old woman who had been working with them her entire life. From the living room, I heard Lowell stir. Not fully awake, just the shifting of a man moving through a light sleep, the small sounds of blanket and armrest, and the particular exhale that meant he was resettling himself. Then quiet again. Then his voice rough with sleep and soft with something else entirely Wren. I was in the doorway before I had decided to stand up. He was half awake in the recliner, blinking at the lamp Dorothy had left on low across the room. His blanket had slipped to one side. He looked at me in the doorway, and his expression did something complicated and simple, at the same time the look of a man who had spent 6 years waking up in unfamiliar places and checking first thing whether his wife was nearby. "Come here," he said. I crossed the room and sat on the wide arm of the recliner beside him, the way I had sat beside him in 100 hospital waiting rooms and rehab facility lounges and borrowed living rooms over the past 6 years. He reached up and touched my cheek, the left one, the one that was still faintly warm, with the backs of his fingers. Gentle, deliberate. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "Not much." Morwenna. The way he said my full name told me he did not believe me and that he was going to let me have the lie because that was the kind of man he was. "I'm all right, Lowell." He lowered his hand and took mine instead, threading his fingers through mine the way he had done since we were 20 years old and figuring out how to be in the same space without bumping into each other. "Is Corbin here?" "He's on the phone with Sandra Whitmore." Lowell absorbed that. His thumb moved slowly across my knuckles. "Good," he said. From the hallway, I heard Corbin's voice pause, then the soft sound of a call ending, then his footsteps back toward the kitchen door. He stopped when he saw me on the arm of the recliner, Lowell's hand in mine, and something moved across his face that I recognized because I had felt it myself many times in many rooms, the particular relief of walking into a place where the most important people are still where you need them to be. "Sandra's on it," he said quietly. Lowell looked at our son. "Good man," he said. Corbin pressed his mouth together hard, nodded once, looked at the ceiling for a moment, the way men look at ceilings when they are refusing to cry in front of their parents, and then looked back down. "Get some sleep, Dad," he said. His voice was steadier than I expected. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." I slept 3 hours on Dorothy's pull-out sofa and woke up at 5:47 because my body did not know how to do anything else. The greenhouse was 12 minutes away. I lay in the dark and thought about the winter herb trays I had checked yesterday morning, the rosemary, the thyme, the sage, and about the fact that they did not know it was Black Friday and they did not know what had happened the night before, and they needed water regardless. Then I thought about Lowell still asleep in Dorothy's recliner, and I got up and made coffee instead. By 8:30, Lowell was awake and fed, and had talked Dorothy into letting him help dry the breakfast dishes from his wheelchair, which mostly involved him holding a dish towel and providing commentary on her drying technique. Dorothy told him his commentary was not helpful. He told her she was holding the pan at the wrong angle. I drank my coffee and watched them argue about it, and felt for the first time since the previous evening something close to ordinary. At 9 o'clock, I drove us home. My key, my door, my floors which creaked in the same places they had always creaked, which I had always meant to fix, and never had because some sounds in a house become part of its voice. Rowena was at the kitchen table. She had not slept, that much was clear from the way she looked. Eyes swollen and red mascara long gone, still wearing the black silk dress that had started all of this the night before, though it looked very different now without the heels and the champagne and the occasion it had been dressed for. She stood up the moment she saw me come through the door, and her mouth opened and she took one full breath to begin whatever she had been rehearsing since 3 in the morning. "Don't," I said. My voice came out exactly the way I meant it, to not angry, not cruel, just a door closing. She stopped. Her chin trembled. She pressed her lips together hard and looked at the floor, and I walked past her through the kitchen and down the hall and helped Lowell get settled in our bedroom. I brought him his blood pressure medication and a glass of water, and sat with him for a moment on the edge of the bed. "You all right?" he asked me. "Getting there," I said. He reached over and patted my hand twice firmly the way he had been patting my hand since 1977, when something needed doing and words were beside the point. Then I went back to the kitchen. Corbin arrived at 9:15. He came in through the garage door the way he always had since he was old enough to drive himself. He set his keys on the counter, looked at Rowena sitting at the table, and placed a single piece of paper in front of her. A name, a phone number, the address of an office on Canton Street. "Sandra Whitmore," he said. "You should call her today. She won't represent you, she's our attorney, but she can refer you to someone good." Rowena stared at the paper, then she looked up at Corbin with an expression that moved through disbelief and landed somewhere that looked almost like the beginning of understanding. "Are you serious right now?" Her voice came out thin and fractured like something that had been stressed past its limit. "I have never been more serious in my life," Corbin said. He came and stood beside me at the counter. He did not say anything else to Rowena. Neither did I. After a long moment, Rowena picked up the piece of paper, folded it once, and put it in her pocket. Then she went upstairs. At 10 o'clock, I sat at my own kitchen table with Corbin and called Sandra Whitmore on speaker. Sandra's voice came through clear and unhurried, the voice of a woman who had been doing this long enough to know that the only useful speed in a crisis was deliberate. She went through everything point by point, and I want to tell you exactly what she said, because every word of it mattered. On the property, the deed was unambiguous. Morwenna Jean Calloway, sole owner of record. No transfer had ever been executed. No one had the legal right to change the locks, sell the property, or claim any ownership interest without her consent. If Rowena had followed Thalas's advice and changed the locks, she would have exposed herself to a criminal trespass charge under Georgia law. On the business assets, the written agreement between Callaway Nursery LLC and Corbin's landscaping company was properly documented and executed. The LLC was a separate legal entity. Its assets, including the SUV, the equipment the client contracts, were not part of any marital estate. The authorized user removal on the credit account was immediate and uncontestable. On the battery charge, Georgia Code Section 16523.1 was straightforward. The video evidence Patricia Ardell had preserved was more than sufficient. Morwenna had two options: cooperate with the prosecutor's office on a criminal misdemeanor charge or pursue a civil claim independently, or both. A misdemeanor battery conviction in Georgia appears on a permanent criminal record and shows up in any standard background check. On the divorce, if Corbin proceeded, no shared real property, no joint business assets, no children. An uncontested filing in Cherokee County could move through the system in as little as 31 days if both parties cooperated. Morwenna. Sandra said, "How do you want to handle the battery?" I thought about it. Not for long. "Civil claim," I said. "Small claims court, the glasses and any medical costs. I want it on the record, but I don't need it to be more than that." "Done," Sandra said. "I'll have the paperwork drafted by Monday." Frank Ardell arrived at 2 that afternoon in uniform this time, with his official notebook and the careful professional manner he put on like a second jacket when he was working. He sat across from me at the kitchen table and took my statement in full, every detail in sequence, from the moment I stood up from the table to the moment I closed the car door in the driveway. When I finished, he reviewed his notes. Then he looked up. "Morwenna," he said, "for what it's worth, I've known you and Lowell for 23 years. I'm sorry it took an official visit for me to be sitting in your kitchen." "How's Janet's Rosemary?" I asked. He blinked. Then he laughed a short, genuine laugh that seemed to surprise him. "Deceased," he said, "as of October." "Come by the nursery next week," I said. "I'll set one aside." After Frank left and Corbin had gone to deal with some things at his own house, the afternoon went quiet in a way that felt earned rather than empty. I sat in the living room with Lowell while the last of the November light came through the front windows at a low angle and turned everything a pale, washed-out gold. Lowell was looking at the window. His left hand rested on the arm of his wheelchair, and his right hand, the one that trembled, was folded in his lap still. "Wren," he said, without turning from the window. "Yes." "Did you step in front of my chair before or after she started talking?" I looked at my husband's profile in the late afternoon light. "Before," I said. He nodded slowly. His jaw moved once. When he turned to look at me, his eyes were bright in a way that had nothing to do with the light coming through the window. "You always do," he said. "You have always, always done that." My throat closed up so fast it ached. "Lowell, I know," he said. "I know you're going to tell me you're fine. I am fine." "You stepped in front of my chair." His voice was very quiet and very certain. Before she said a word, "You just got up and put yourself there." He reached over and took my hand, and his grip was stronger than it had any right to be. "That's all I needed to know, Wren. That's the whole story." The week after Thanksgiving moved the way hard weeks tend to move, not fast, not slow, but with a heaviness that settles into the walls of a house and stays there until things are resolved one way or another. Rowena remained for 4 more days. I know the exact count because I was present for every one of them, moving through my own kitchen and my own hallways with the steady deliberateness of a woman who had decided without drama and without announcement that her home was going to stay her home, regardless of who else was still occupying it. I made breakfast each morning. I tended the greenhouse. I sat with Lowell in the evenings and watched the news, and we did not discuss what was happening upstairs because Lowell already understood everything that mattered, and the rest would work itself out on paper. On the 3rd morning, she came downstairs while I was washing the breakfast dishes. I saw her reflection in the window above the sink before I heard her. She had finally changed out of the black silk dress, and without the heels and the champagne and the occasion she had dressed for, she looked considerably more like what she actually was. She stood in the doorway and said my name. I turned off the water, turned around, waited. She looked smaller. Not in any physical sense, same height, same posture, but something behind her eyes had gone quiet the way a room settles. When a noise you have been hearing so long, you stop noticing. It finally stops. The performance was gone. What remained was just a woman standing in a kitchen that had never belonged to her, saying something honest possibly for the first time in years. "I don't know how to fix this," she said. Her voice came out without its usual careful management, raw at the edges, in a way I had genuinely never heard from her before. I thought about the camera on the bookshelf. I thought about my catering account and the champagne she had added to it. I thought about her red fingernail aimed at Lowell's wheelchair and the word that had come out of her mouth. "I know you don't," I said. "That's not something I'm able to fix for you." She nodded, once the nod of someone accepting a fact rather than agreeing with a position. Then she went back upstairs. 2 days after that, she was gone. She left while I was in the greenhouse doing the morning rounds. I came back inside at noon and the house had shifted in the way houses shift when someone has taken themselves out of them, not emptier exactly, but quieter in the specific places she used to occupy. She had packed thoroughly and taken everything that was hers. She had not taken a single thing that wasn't. On the kitchen counter, she had left the piece of paper Corbin had placed in front of her 4 days earlier, Sandra Whitmore's name number, and the Canton Street address. At the top, in Rowena's handwriting, one word called. I held that piece of paper for longer than I expected to. Then I put it in the drawer beside the phone because it was a document of a kind, and I have always kept documents where they can be found. The following Monday, I drove myself to the urgent care clinic on Route 41. My cheek had stayed swollen through the weekend, and I wanted it examined and documented by someone with a medical license before too much time passed. Sandra called in the second week of December. Rowena had retained her own attorney, a woman named Ellen Marsh, whom Sandra described as competent and unlikely to make things more complicated than necessary. The civil claim for the glasses and the urgent care bill had been filed in Cherokee County, small claims court with a hearing date set for late February. The divorce filing, once both attorneys confirmed the terms, would proceed as uncontested. No shared property, no joint business assets, no children. The machinery moved the way uncontested things move steadily, without drama. Thalassa called on a Tuesday afternoon in January. I had been expecting it. Some things are predictable not because you want them to be, but because the patterns are legible once you have been paying attention long enough. She called while I was in greenhouse, too, checking the humidity on the spring seedling trays. I wiped my hands on my work pants and answered, "Morwenna." Her voice had shed its usual social surface and sounded for the first time approximately like what it was underneath. "I want to apologize." "All right," I said. She apologized the way people do when they are considerably sorrier about the outcome than the actions that produced it, circling through phrases like, "Things got so out of hand and I never imagined it would go that far. And I hope, I never wanted any of this." I listened to every word. I let her finish without interruption. The seedling trays needed 3 more minutes of assessment regardless, and I had learned a long time ago that the most useful thing you can do while someone is offering you a version of events that does not quite match the one you lived through is to keep your hands occupied and your mouth closed. When she finished, I said, "Take care of yourself, Thalassa." She waited. There was nothing further coming. I ended the call and went back to the humidity readings. The divorce was finalized in the second week of February. Sandra called to confirm. Corbin called 20 minutes later, his voice carrying the particular quality of a man who has just set down something extremely heavy and is still working out what to do with his hands now that they are empty. "You all right?" I asked. "Getting there," he said. I recognized those words instantly. They were the ones I had said to Lowell on the edge of our bed on Black Friday morning, when he had patted my hand twice and not pressed me for anything more. They were the truest thing I had found to say in those first raw days, and hearing them come back through my son's voice made something in my chest release that I had not realized was still held tight. "Come for dinner Sunday," I said. "Yeah," he said. "I will." The small claims hearing was on a Thursday morning in late February. Rowena came with Ellen Marsh. I came with Sandra. The damages were not in dispute. The broken glasses, the urgent care visit I had made the Monday after Thanksgiving, when the swelling in my cheek had persisted past the point where I was comfortable leaving it unexamined, and the official documentation Frank Ardell had filed with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office. The judge reviewed everything, asked 2 brief questions, and awarded the claim in full. 11 minutes start to finish. In the parking lot, Sandra shook my hand and said, "That's done." "Yes," I said, "it is." March came to Cherokee County the way it always does, tentatively, at first, then with growing confidence, the cold releasing its grip degree by degree, until one morning you walk out before sunrise and the air carries something different in it. Wet earth, the green smell of things, beginning again, the particular kind of promise that exists only at the start of a growing season, before any of it has had the chance to go wrong. That morning I was in greenhouse 1 by 515. The spring seedlings were coming in strong rosemary and thyme, and the new lavender variety I had been developing for the Crestwood contract, row after row of small determined things reaching toward the grow lights. Corbin arrived at 7 the way he had been arriving every Tuesday and Thursday since February. He was learning the parts of the operation he had spent years assuming simply happened on their own, and discovering the way people always do when they finally look closely that the work was considerably more involved than it appeared. He asked good questions. He wrote things down without being told to. At noon, Lowell came out through the greenhouse door in his wheelchair, technical notebook on his lap, thermos wedged between his knees, already talking before he was fully through the doorway. Drip line in section 4 is running at 83%. He announced, opening his notebook to a page of careful left-handed entries. Check the pressure log this morning. Needs recalibrating before the lavender trays go in. Corbin looked up from the potting bench. How do you know that from inside the house? Lowell regarded his son with the patient, slightly affronted expression of a man whose expertise has been questioned by someone who ought to know better by now. "Because I designed every component of this system," he said, "and I keep the pressure logs current. Some of us keep the logs Corbin." Corbin looked at me. I took a deliberate step backward toward the herb trays and raised both hands, making my position on the matter entirely clear. That evening, after Corbin had gone and the greenhouse was locked, and Lowell was settled in the living room with his notebook and the television news, low in the background, I stood at the kitchen counter and opened the junk drawer beside the refrigerator, the one that held spare batteries, old takeout menus, a tape measure that had been Lowell's father's, and the quiet accumulated weight of a life built in one place over a very long time. The spare key was there where it had always been. It had been sitting in that drawer since the day Rowena had first mentioned casually and almost in passing that it might be convenient to have an extra key made, just in case, for family. I had made the key. I had placed it in this drawer. I had not given it to anyone. I picked it up and turned it over in my palm. The ordinary weight of an ordinary thing that had been waiting in the dark for the right moment and the right person. Corbin had called that afternoon to say he had left his tape measure in the equipment barn and would stop by first thing in the morning. He would be here before 7. I set the key on the counter where he would see it the moment he came through the door. Then I went and sat beside my husband, and Lowell reached over without looking away from the news and took my hand the way he had been taking my hand for 47 years, without ceremony, without announcement, the way you reach for something you have always known exactly where to find. The house was quiet around us in the way a house is quiet when everything inside it is exactly where it belongs. I did not win because I planned a revenge. I won because I never once stopped knowing what was mine and who in the end was worth every single thing it cost to protect. If there is one thing this family drama taught me, it is that silence is not the same as peace. For years I told myself I was keeping the harmony. What I was really doing was allowing harm to grow quietly inside my own home and calling it patience. Do not do what I did. Do not wait until someone raises their hand before you raise your voice. Your dignity does not need a dramatic moment to deserve defending. I have lived through the kind of family drama that changes people, and I have heard from so many women carrying the same weight. In every family drama I have witnessed, the truth does not need help. It only needs time. These revenge stories with Mom are not about hatred. They are about finally remembering who you are. Every one of these revenge stories with Mom I have shared carries one message underneath: you are allowed to protect what is yours. And in the most painful revenge stories with Mom, God's quiet justice always arrives, not loudly, but completely. If this story reached your heart, drop a comment and tell me what stayed with you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you never miss what comes next. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying until the very end. Some stories here contain fictional elements crafted with care for reflection and understanding. If this is not the content for you, we respect that and kindly invite you to find what speaks to your heart elsewhere.